The sky above the Arizona desert tore open one silent night. A bright light, like a burning star, streaked across the sky and crashed into the rocky land, shaking the earth beneath. Dust clouds rose, and a deep crater formed where the strange object fell. Within minutes, helicopters, drones, and military trucks surrounded the impact site. Dr. Leo Maris stood among them. He wasn't a soldier. He was a quiet xenobiologist from the Global Species Research Agency. He had studied fossils, rumors of alien DNA, and strange messages from deep space, but never in his life had he seen something real. Not until now. Crashed ship was half buried, silver and dark blue, shaped like a spiral shell. The metal pulsed with soft light, like it was breathing. And then it opened. From inside the wreck came a tall, thin figure with glowing markings along her skin. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes shimmered like tiny galaxies. She stepped forward, shaking, weak. As the soldiers raised their weapons, Leo shouted, "Wait! Don't shoot!" She fell to her knees. A single tear rolled down her cheek and hit the ground. It burned through the rocky surface like acid, creating a small hole that smoked. Everyone stepped back in fear. The soldiers wanted to act, but Leo moved closer, slowly, carefully, without any weapon. The alien looked up at him. She was afraid. Her eyes locked with his, and more tears formed. One of them slipped from her chin and landed on Leo's hand. Nothing burned. No pain. No injury. Instead, a glowing blue flower appeared where the tear touched his skin. It sparkled, held its shape for a few seconds, and then vanished into the air like mist. Everyone gasped. Leo looked at her with wonder. "My name is Leo," he said calmly, placing a hand on his chest. She blinked and placed her hand on her own chest. "Ashira," she said in a soft, broken voice. That's how it began. Ashira was taken to a secret underground facility beneath the desert. The media knew nothing. The world above moved on as usual, unaware of the being sleeping below them. Leo stayed with her. She didn't speak much at first. Her body needed special energy, and Earth's air made her sick. She could only stay in a controlled chamber with filtered air. She wore a long robe made of smooth fabric provided by the lab. Her skin glowed softly at night, like stars under water. Most of the staff feared her. They called her dangerous. They saw the melted floor panels where her tears had fallen. Some wanted to keep her locked up. Others whispered about using her as a weapon. Only Leo believed she was not a threat. He spent hours each day trying to communicate, using images, gestures, and sounds. Ashira learned slowly. She was smart, very smart, but also tired, as if she had been running for a long, long time. One day, while Leo was showing her pictures of Earth's animals, she saw a bird in flight. Her eyes filled with tears. "We used to have these," she said softly. Leo paused. "Your people?" She nodded. "Chalari, from the Ethra system. All gone, burned, chased." She couldn't say much more, but Leo understood enough. She was the last of her kind. And she was afraid to cry, not because of sadness, but because of the danger it caused. But he had questions. Why did her tears burn through metal, but not through his skin? Why did they become flowers only on him? Ashira looked at him. "You are different." In the weeks that followed, Leo ran gentle tests, always with her permission, always careful. He discovered that her tears were a mix of light and energy, not just liquid. They reacted violently to most materials, except to human skin. On human contact, the energy transformed, softened, and produced harmless effects, like glowing shapes, musical tones, even peaceful visions. The other scientists didn't understand. They ran simulations, used AI, and tried to recreate the reaction, but it never worked. Only Leo's touch caused the strange, beautiful change. "Maybe it's not science," Ashira whispered one night. "Maybe it's soul." Leo didn't argue. He began to believe that humanity might be special in a way no one expected. Not because of weapons or power, but because of how they react to pain. With care, with healing. Ashira grew more open with him. She told him stories through drawings, how her world had oceans of light, how her people shared memories through songs, and how the stars sang when someone died. Leo listened. He didn't try to fix her. He just stayed. But danger was growing. Others in the facility started to grow impatient. Some wanted her moved to a military base. Some said she was too powerful, too risky. Leo knew they were planning something. He had to act fast. Because Ashira wasn't just a visitor. She was a key to something much bigger, something Earth wasn't ready for yet. Ashira sat quietly in her containment chamber. The soft light on her skin had grown dim. She seemed weaker with each passing day. Her breaths were slower, her voice softer, and her eyes full of a sadness Leo could not describe. Dr. Leo Maris stood outside the glass wall, watching her. He held a small notebook in his hand, filled with notes about her biology, her reactions, and the strange way her tears behaved. But he wasn't just a scientist anymore. He was her only friend. Ashira turned her head slowly and smiled when she saw him. "You came again." "I always do," Leo replied, stepping into the sealed room through the airlock. He wore a light protection suit, but not for his safety, only to keep the air clean for her. Ashira sat beside a screen showing moving images of Earth animals. She loved the birds, especially the ones that soared over oceans. "You said your people flew like birds," Leo said as he knelt beside her. She nodded. "We didn't fly with wings. We floated in energy paths. The skies were part of our cities." Leo opened his notebook. "Can you tell me more about your biology? Maybe I can help you feel better." Ashira looked at her hands. "Shalari, blood is not like yours. We carry light inside. Emotions control it. When I cry, the energy escapes. On most things it burns. On you, it changes." Leo was still puzzled by that. He had run test after test. Her tears could melt steel. They could cut through diamond. But on his skin, they turned into harmless, beautiful patterns. Blue flowers, floating shapes, even sounds. No other scientist had been able to repeat it. Even when other people touched her tears, the result was always the same. Burns. But with Leo, something different happened. "Your body, your heart," Ashira said. "They soften the pain." Leo looked at her closely. "Do you mean humans were made to hold your tears?" Ashira didn't answer. Instead, she pulled something from the folds of her robe, a small, glowing crystal. She handed it to him. "What is this?" Leo asked. "A memory shard. My mother gave it to me. Only a true, soft blood can open it." He didn't understand what that meant, but he took the crystal and placed it against his forehead. To his surprise, light filled his vision. He saw images, floating cities, glowing rivers, tall beings, singing in harmony, and then fire, screams, ships crashing, the Sindari, a race of burning metal and anger destroying everything. The vision ended. Leo fell back, breathing heavily. Ashira reached out to him, worried. "Are you hurt?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "I saw it all. Your world. The destruction. Why they chased you." Ashira nodded. "The Sindari hate us because we feel deeply. Our tears carry emotion. They destroy without knowing pain. We hurt. They fear that." Leo sat in silence, the weight of her story heavy on his shoulders. "But why me? Why humans?" Ashira looked into his eyes. "Long ago, your kind was visited. My people called you final kin, a species that would never be burned by sorrow. Our oldest stories spoke of it, but no one believed. Until now, Leo tried to take it all in. Was it possible that humans had a special connection with the Tishalari? Some kind of deep link, not just science, but something emotional even. Spiritual? The door to the room buzzed. One of the officers stood outside the glass. "You're needed in the control room, Doctor," he said. Leo turned to Ashira. "I'll be back soon." She nodded, but her eyes showed worry. In the control room, tension filled the air. Commander Hart, a stern woman with sharp eyes, stood at the front of the room, looking at live footage of Ashira. "We've had enough delays," she said. "We're moving her to Site 9 tomorrow. Military base." Leo's eyes widened. "You can't do that. Her body is too weak. She won't survive that kind of transport." Hart didn't look at him. "She's too dangerous. Her tears can destroy anything. If she falls into the wrong hands—" "She's not a weapon," Leo interrupted. "She's a survivor, and she came here for safety, not war." Another scientist whispered to Hart. "What if he's compromised? Emotionally involved?" Leo clenched his fists. "You want to lock her away, but you don't even understand what she is. Her tears change on me. That means something." Hart turned slowly. "Then, maybe you should be tested, Doctor, fully." Leo felt cold. He knew what that meant. They didn't trust him anymore, and that put Ashira in more danger. Later that night, Leo returned to Ashira's chamber. She looked at him with tired eyes. "They want to move you," he said quietly. "It's not safe." Ashira stood, swaying. "I can't run anymore." Leo stepped forward, took her hand. "Then I'll help you stand." A single tear slid down her cheek. It landed on his skin. A flower bloomed, soft and glowing, then faded gently away. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Ashira's health continued to decline. The constant tears that had once sparked beauty in the air now drained her strength, leaving her weak and pale. Leo could see it in her eyes. There was a deep sadness, but something more. Something he couldn't quite explain. She was odding, and he couldn't stop it. He spent hours in the lab, poring over data and trying to find something, anything, that could help her. But all the information about her alien biology only raised more questions. Ashira's tears, so dangerous, to everything else, held no answer for her own kind. They were a part of her, a piece of her people's legacy, a legacy now lost to the fire of war. But Leo wasn't ready to let that be the end. He couldn't be. He returned to her chamber, holding a datapad with his latest findings. Ashira was sitting by the window, her long silver hair glowing softly in the dim light. "You look worse," Leo said gently, sitting beside her. She didn't smile this time. "I know." "How long have you felt like this?" he asked, studying her closely. "Since I arrived." "Since I started crying," she whispered, her voice soft and fragile. "When I cry, it feels like the energy within me is leaving. It's like it's being absorbed by this world, this air." Leo looked at her with deep concern. He knew she wasn't just talking about physical exhaustion. There was something deeper at play, something that had been eating at her from the inside, draining her of life. Maybe your body isn't built for Earth," Leo suggested, thinking aloud. "Your species was designed to live in energy, to feed on it. This planet, with its gravity and atmosphere, it might be too much for you to handle." Ashira's eyes flickered with a hint of hope, but she shook her head. "I can't go back. The Sindari will destroy what's left of me." Leo leaned forward, his voice filled with determination. "Then we need to find a way to help you. I'll keep looking for a solution, Ashira. I won't give up." Ashira looked at him, searching his eyes for something. "Why do you care so much?" "Because you're not just a test subject," Leo said, taking her hand gently. "You're a person, a being who deserves to be treated with respect. You've been through so much already. The last thing you need is to be used." She closed her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek, but this time it didn't burn. It didn't create anything. It was just sadness. Leo wiped it away, his hand warm against her cool skin. "I won't let them take you, Ashira. I promise." The deed. Next day, Leo stood at the entrance to Ashira's chamber, his thoughts clouded with the weight of his promise. The military had become more insistent, and with each passing hour, Leo could feel their pressure building. They wanted to move her, to study her, to test her in ways that felt wrong. Leo had heard rumors of a secret military operation, Project Sable. The plan was to take Ashira away from the research facility and transport her to a high-security lab, one deep underground. The facility was designed to hold alien life forms, experiments, essentially. Leo could already feel his hands trembling at the thought of it. They wouldn't care about Ashira's well-being. They'd only care about how to use her. He turned back toward her room. When he entered, Ashira was no longer sitting at the window. She was standing by the table studying something in her hands. It was a small crystal, glowing softly. "Ashira?" Leo asked, his voice cautious. She turned to face him, a slight smile on her lips. "This was my mother's. It's a piece of our world, the memories of a better time." Leo stepped closer, his curiosity piqued. "Can I see it?" Ashira nodded and handed him the crystal. The moment Leo touched it, the world around him seemed to shift. He saw flashes of images, high, spiraling towers made of light, oceans of liquid energy, and fields of glowing flowers. But then the vision twisted. He saw war. Ships crashed into the shining cities. Explosions. Screams of her people as they were hunted down by the Sindari. Leo gasped as the vision ended, the crystal fading in his hand. He stumbled back, his mind racing to process what he had just witnessed. Ashira stood quietly, watching him. "That is all that remains. The destruction. The tears that I carry are the last remnants of my people." Leo felt his chest tighten with emotion. "I didn't know. I didn't understand." She stepped closer to him. "You never can, Leo. No one can. But you don't need to. You just need to know that I'm not like the others. I won't hurt you." "I know," Leo whispered. He reached out, gently placing his hand on her shoulder. "I don't want you to go, not to them." Ashira's gaze softened. "But if I stay, they will come for you, and they will hurt you." "I'm willing to risk it," Leo replied, his voice steady despite the fear swirling inside him. "I'll protect you, Ashira. I swear." Her eyes filled with unshed tears. "You're already doing more than anyone ever has." Later that night, Leo paced back and forth in the lab. His mind spun with possibilities. They had to get Ashira out of the facility. They had to find a way to keep her safe, somewhere far from the reach of the military and the Sindari. As he walked toward her chamber, his thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alarm. A soft but distinct chime. The warning chime echoed through the underground facility, sharp and urgent. Leo's heart raced as the screens flashed red. Ashira was still in her chamber, and time was running out. He had to act now. He rushed down the hallway, passing the locked security doors that separated him from her. He had no plan, no backup, and no idea how to escape with her. But he couldn't wait any longer. He wouldn't let them take her. When Leo reached her chamber, Ashira was standing near the window, staring out at the dark desert sky. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the low light, her expression distant, as if she knew what was coming. "You heard the alarm," Leo said, trying to keep his voice steady. Ashira nodded, turning to face him. Her eyes were tired, but there was a new resolve in them. "I knew this day would come. Leo stepped forward, grabbing her hands gently. "We don't have much time. The military, they're coming to move you. We can't let that happen." Ashira's gaze softened, but she didn't speak. She just nodded again, as if she had already accepted what needed to be done. "I'll get you out of here," Leo said, his voice determined. "I'll protect you." A soft sound came from the speaker above them. A message from Commander Hart. "Dr. Maris." Hart's voice crackled through the intercom. "You are ordered to surrender Ashira. You have 10 minutes to comply. Failure to do so will result in immediate action." Leo clenched his jaw. He could feel the weight of the decision in his chest. There was no way to reason with them. They wouldn't listen. They never had. They only saw Ashira as a weapon. Ashira looked up at him, her expression calm. "Leo, it's time." "No, we'll figure something out." Leo's mind raced, but every option seemed impossible. He couldn't leave her to face the Sindari or the military. But what choice did they have? "We have to go," Ashira repeated, softly, her voice breaking. "I can't stay here." Leo took a deep breath. "Okay, we'll go together." Outside, the world was quiet, but Leo could feel the tension building. The facility's halls were now filled with soldiers, all under strict orders to contain Ashira. Leo knew there was no turning back. They had to leave before the door was locked behind them. They moved quickly, Leo leading Ashira through the dark hallways. He had memorized every corner of the facility during the long hours of observation. But this time, there was no time to be cautious. The military wouldn't give them any chances. As they approached the escape tunnel, Leo felt a familiar sense of dread creeping into his chest. He had no idea how far the tunnel led, or where it might take them, but it was their only option. "I've got this," Leo said, trying to reassure her, but Ashira's silence spoke volumes. She was afraid, but she was also ready. They reached the tunnel entrance, a metal door leading into the depths of the desert. Leo pulled out a keycard he'd stolen from one of the guards days earlier, swiping it across the reader. The door creaked open, and the tunnel beyond was dark, but it felt like freedom. Ashira hesitated. "This place, it's too cold." Leo squeezed her hand. "I'll stay close. We'll make it." They stepped into the tunnel, the air thick, with dust and the smell of old machinery. Leo led the way, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. It was a long path, winding through underground caverns, but every step felt like they were getting closer to something better. As they walked, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them. He glanced back, half expecting to see soldiers following them. But there was nothing, just the sound of their footsteps echoing in the silence. Hours passed as they made their way deeper into the tunnel. Ashira's strength was fading, and Leo could see the strain on her face. The cold was starting to affect her more than she let on, but she didn't complain. "Are you okay?" Leo asked, glancing back at her. Ashira nodded, though her pale face betrayed the truth. "I'm fine." Leo stopped for a moment, pulling out a small emergency pack he had brought with him. He handed her a bottle of water and a small blanket to help with the chill. "You don't have to hide it from me. I know you're struggling." Ashira took the blanket, wrapping it around herself. "I'm not used to being so fragile." Leo sat down beside her, looking into her eyes. "You're not fragile. You're just in the wrong place. The wrong time." She smiled weakly. "I've always been in the wrong place, Leo. But maybe it was meant to be this way." Before Leo could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. The walls of the tunnel shook, dust falling from the ceiling. "Leo, what's happening?" Ashira asked, fear rising in her voice. He stood up quickly, looking toward the entrance. The vibrations were getting stronger. It felt like the earth itself was coming alive. "It's them," Leo said, his voice tight with fear. "The Sindari. They're here." Ashira's face went pale. They've found us. Leo grabbed her hand again, pulling her to her feet. We have to keep moving. They turned and ran deeper into the tunnel, the sound of the world shaking behind them. They couldn't stop now. They couldn't let the Sindari catch up. The fire beneath Mars was only beginning, and their only hope was to outrun it. The tunnel seemed endless. Leo and Ashira moved swiftly, their footsteps echoing in the stillness of the underground path. The tremors continued, growing stronger, shaking the very walls of the tunnel. Leo's heart raced as he led Ashira through the darkness, the glow of his flashlight casting eerie shadows along the rough stone walls. The sound of distant footsteps echoed behind them, growing louder with each passing minute. The Sindari were close. Too close. We need to hurry, Leo said, glancing back at Ashira. She was pale, struggling to keep up, her breathing shallow and strained. I can't. Keep going, she whispered, her voice trembling. The energy. It's too much. Leo stopped and turned to her. Her eyes were wide with fear, her skin cold to the touch. He knew she couldn't go much further. Just a little longer, Leo said gently, taking her hand. We're almost there. We'll find a way out, I promise. Ashira's grip tightened around his hand, but she said nothing. Her eyes darted around, clearly aware of the danger they were in. She could sense. The Sindaris approached too. They continued down the tunnel, and after what felt like hours, they finally saw a light at the end of the path. It was faint, but it was there. An exit. Leo's heart leapt with hope. He pushed forward, pulling Ashira gently behind him. The light grew brighter, and they soon reached the opening of the tunnel. But what lay beyond wasn't what Leo had expected. Before them stood a massive underground facility, much larger than anything Leo had ever seen. It was a hidden research complex designed for studying alien life, and it was powered by an unknown source of energy. The walls were lined with advanced equipment and glowing panels, and in the center of the room was a massive, humming energy core. Leo paused, uncertain. What is this place? Ashira stared at the core, her expression unreadable. This is where it all began. Leo's confusion deepened. What do you mean? Ashira stepped closer to the core, her eyes filled with a mix of awe and fear. The Tishalari. We left this technology here long ago. It was meant to be a gift, a way for humans to understand the energy we lived with, to harness it for peaceful purposes. But it was forgotten, buried under the surface. Leo's mind raced. The core, the energy. It all made sense now. This was the key to everything. The strange connection between humans and Tishalari, the way Ashira's tears transformed when they touched human skin. It was all tied to this energy. Can we use it? Leo asked, stepping forward. Ashira hesitated, her gaze locked on the glowing core. It's dangerous. It's not meant for just anyone. I don't care, Leo said firmly. I'll do whatever it takes to help you. She turned to him, her expression softening. You don't understand. This energy, it's not just science. It's a part of us. It's our pain, our history, our memories. It cannot be used without consequence. Leo took a deep breath. He had no time to argue. The Sindari were too close. They would find them soon, and Ashira would be lost to them. We don't have a choice, he said. If we don't use it now, we'll both be lost. Ashira looked at him for a long moment, as if weighing the decision. Finally, she nodded. You're right, she whispered. I'll show you. She stepped toward the core, and Leo followed closely behind. Ashira placed her hands on the energy source, her body glowing faintly with the same energy she had carried from her people. The core hummed louder, and the air around them seemed to vibrate. Now, she said, hold my hand. Leo did as instructed, and as their fingers touched, a surge of energy flowed through him. His body hummed, alive with the strange power that had once belonged to the Tishalari. The world around him blurred, and for a moment he could feel the weight of Ashira's history, her pain, her joy. He could feel the essence of her people coursing through him, and in that moment he understood. Ashira's tears were not just an energy source. They were memories. They were a part of her, a connection to everything she had lost. And now, through this power, Leo could feel the depth of that loss. But he also felt something else, a spark of hope, a connection, something unique to humans. His body wasn't just absorbing the energy, it was transforming it, turning it into something new. The light surrounding them grew brighter, and the core pulsed with power. The energy was alive, alive with potential. But Leo knew it was unstable. They couldn't control it forever. "Ashira," Leo said urgently, "we need to move, now." But Ashira was trembling, her eyes distant as she struggled to maintain her connection to the core. I can't hold it for much longer." Leo reached for her, his grip firm. "You don't have to. I understand now. I can do this." Together, they focused on the core, their minds working in unison. Leo's human energy combined with Ashira's ancient power began to shift the flow. The core's vibrations grew, more controlled, its light steady, and then, just as the tremors from the Sindari's arrival reached their peak, the core stabilized. For the first time, it felt like they had a chance. The underground facility hummed with energy, the core glowing brightly in the center of the room. Leo stood beside Ashira, his hand still holding hers. The strange power that had flowed through them seemed to settle, but the tension in the air was still thick. The tremors had stopped, but the Sindari were still coming. Ashira took a shaky breath, her body trembling from the strain of holding the energy. "I can feel them," she said softly, her voice strained. "They're getting closer." Leo's heart raced. The Sindari weren't far off now. If they didn't make a move soon, they would be caught. "We have to leave," Leo said. "There's a way out, right?" Ashira nodded, but her face was pale. "Yes, but it's not a safe path. It leads to the surface, but we'll be exposed. The Sindari will know where we are." Leo's mind raced. He had no time to waste. The only chance they had was to make it to the surface, where they might be able to reach one of the outlying research stations or call for help. But he knew they couldn't do it alone. "Is there anyone who can help us?" Leo asked, his voice desperate. Ashira hesitated. "There is one." The ancient Tishalari had allies. The Leilani, a peaceful race who once protected us. But they've been hiding for centuries. They might not even be aware of what's happening. Leo's eyes widened. "The Leilani, do you think they can still help us?" Ashira nodded slowly. "They're a secretive species, but if we can reach them, they may have the power to stop the Sindari." Leo clenched his fists. "Then we'll find them, no matter what it takes." The journey to the surface was harder than Leo had anticipated. The underground complex was vast, and the path that led to the exit was not easy to navigate. The walls seemed to close in around them, and every step felt like it could be their last. Ashira was growing weaker with each passing moment, her energy slowly draining. Leo could feel the strain in her body, and he did his best to support her. "We're almost there," Leo said, his voice full of determination. "Stay with me, Ashira." She nodded weakly, her hand gripping his tighter. "I'm not giving up." They reached the surface, and the bright desert sun hit them with full force. The air was dry, and the heat made it difficult to breathe. But Leo didn't care. He could feel the Leilani's presence just beyond the horizon. And they had to be out there. As they moved through the rocky landscape, Leo noticed something strange in the distance. A faint shimmer, like a mirage, but it wasn't heat. It was something more. Something alive. "That's it," Ashira whispered, pointing to the shimmer. "The Leilani." Leo felt a surge of hope. He ran toward the shimmer, pulling Ashira along with him. As they got closer, the shimmer became clearer, revealing a group of beings standing tall and still as statues. Their skin was translucent, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. Their eyes were dark, but full of knowledge and ancient wisdom. Leo stopped in his tracks, amazed by their presence. Are you the Leilani?" One of the beings stepped forward, its voice soft and melodic. "We are the Leilani. We have waited for you." Ashira stepped forward, her voice trembling. I didn't think you would still be here." The Leilani being nodded. "We have always been here, hidden from the eyes of those who seek destruction. But your call has reached us, Ashira. We know what has happened. The Sindari are coming." Leo felt a chill run down his spine. "Can you help us? Can you stop them?" The Leilani being's eyes narrowed, and for a moment there was silence. Then it spoke again, its voice filled with ancient power. "We can, but it will require a great sacrifice. The energy you now carry, Ashira, is the last of the Tishalari. It is the key to stopping the Sindari, but it will also require you to release it completely." Ashira's face paled further. What does that mean?" "The energy must be shared with the universe," the Leilani said. "It will become a part of everything, but in doing so, you will lose your connection to it. You will be free, but the power will be gone." Leo's heart sank. He understood what this meant. If Ashira released the energy, she would no longer be able to access it. She would lose her connection to her people, to her history. But it was the only way to stop the Sindari and save them all. "Ashira," Leo said softly, "you don't have to do this. We can figure something else out." Ashira looked at him, her eyes filled with sadness. "I've carried this pain for so long, Leo. It's time for it to be shared. I can't hold it inside any longer. This is my choice." Leo didn't speak. He simply nodded, his throat tight with emotion. Ashira turned to the Leilani. "Do it. Release it." The Leilani raised their hands, their fingers glowing as they began to chant in a language Leo didn't understand. The energy around Ashira began to shift, her body glowing with the light of the Tishalari. The ground beneath them trembled as the energy was drawn from her, flowing into the sky. Leo watched in awe as the energy spread, flowing through the air, the earth, and the stars above. The Sindari's ships, hovering in the distance, suddenly stopped. The energy reached them, and their engines faltered, their weapons shutting down. The Leilani's chant grew louder, and Ashira's body slowly collapsed to her knees, drained of all the energy she had once held. Leo rushed to her side, his heart breaking. "Ashira," he whispered. She smiled weakly. "It's over." The Sindari were stopped. The energy had been released, and the universe was at peace once more. The desert wind was silent, the world holding its breath. Leo knelt beside Ashira, who had collapsed to the ground, her body still glowing faintly from the release of energy. The Leilani hovered nearby, their forms now dimming, their task complete. The air around them hummed with a strange calm, as if the very earth had exhaled after a long, painful struggle. Leo's heart pounded in his chest. He had watched as the last of Ashira's power had left her, flowing into the atmosphere, into the stars, and into the universe. The Sindari ships had fallen silent. Their weapons, once deadly and unstoppable, had now become nothing more than lifeless husks in the air. "Ashira," Leo whispered, his voice tight with emotion. "Ashira, are you okay?" She lifted her head slowly, her eyes still full of that same sadness, but there was peace in them now. The tears she had carried for so long were gone. She had freed herself, and in doing so, had saved them all. I'm free," she said quietly. Her voice was weak, but it held a deep relief. "I can feel it, Leo. I can feel everything." Leo helped her sit up, holding her gently. He didn't know what to say. He had watched her carry the weight of her, people's history, their pain, and their power for so long. Now, she was finally at peace, but the price had been high. "The Sindari? They're gone," Leo said, his voice filled with awe. Ashira nodded slowly, her gaze drifting toward the horizon where the Sindari ships had once hovered. There was no sign of them now. The energy they had unleashed had stopped them in their tracks, rendering their weapons and ships useless. "They won't hurt anyone anymore," she said softly. "No more wars, no more pain." For the first time in a long while, Ashira smiled. It was faint, but it was a smile. The burden she had carried for centuries was now lifted, and the world felt lighter. Leo looked at her, a mixture of admiration and sadness in his eyes. He had promised to protect her, but in the end, it was she who had saved them all. She had made the ultimate sacrifice, giving up the last of her people's power to bring peace to the universe. He reached out and touched her hand, his grip warm and steady. "You've done more than anyone could ever ask of you, Ashira. You gave everything for us." Ashira's smile deepened, though she was clearly exhausted. "I gave what was needed. You are the ones who taught me that humans can heal. You showed me that not everything has to end in destruction. Maybe that's why your kind is special." Leo shook his head. "We didn't do anything. You were the one who made the choice. You're the reason everything is going to be okay." The Leilani stood silently in the background, their presence still a calming force. They watched the scene unfold, their faces unreadable. They had kept their distance, knowing that Ashira's journey was hers to make, but now they stepped forward. "Is done," one of the Leilani said in its soft, melodic voice. "The energy has been shared. The Sindari have been stopped. Peace has returned." Leo nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude toward the Leilani. They had come when Ashira had called them, and now the universe was forever changed. But there was still something left to do. "Ashira," Leo said softly, "what happens now? What will you do?" She looked up at him, her eyes full of a quiet strength. "I don't know, but for the first time I don't feel lost. I feel like I can find my way again. Maybe now I can just be." Leo smiled at her, the weight of the moment sinking in. "You don't have to carry that burden anymore. You're free." Ashira closed her eyes and breathed in deeply. For the first time in a long while, she felt no weight on her shoulders, no ghosts haunting her mind. It was as if a new chapter was beginning, one that she could write for herself. "Maybe," she said with a soft laugh, "I can finally learn to live." The wind picked up again, blowing across the desert. It felt like a new beginning, for both of them. The universe had been saved, and the old wounds of Ashira's people were finally healed. She had given everything to ensure peace, and now she could walk forward into a future of her own choosing. The Leilani spoke once more. "We will remain here, hidden, as we always have. But if you ever need us again, we will answer the call." Leo nodded, understanding. "Thank you. You've given us more than we could ever repay." Ashira stood with Leo's help, her strength returning slowly. The desert stretched out before them, a vast, endless horizon. She felt a sense of wonder, as if for the first time she was truly seeing the world. A world without fear. A world where humanity and Tishalari had worked together to bring peace. "We have a future now," she said quietly, gazing out across the endless landscape. "We have a chance." Leo smiled, the warmth of the sun on his face. "Yes, we do." They stood together, the wind brushing past them, and for the first time they both felt the true weight of what had been achieved. Peace, Not through destruction, but through understanding, through sacrifice, and through the strange, powerful connection between humanity and Ashira. The universe had changed, and so had they.